All right, here it is. Probably 18, 18 or 19.
Nice. I'm gonna let him go.
All right. Now revive him and just hold his tail. Hold his tail. There you go. Nice. You can let your right hand go. And then there he goes. First keeper, baby. Let's go. Give me some. Boom. That's the spot.
What's up, Salt Strong Nation? It is time for another Strong Angler of the Week. If you don't know what Strong Angler of the Week is, this is where we pick an awesome post from our community that really stood out, where somebody went fishing with friends and family. This week I have Tyler. He went fishing with his dad, and you can tell that they had an awesome time. Tell me a little bit about that trip, Tyler.
Hey, Austin. Thanks for having me. This trip was really the culmination of a lot of studying, a lot of preparation, and a lot of just learning the area. But we went out super early on a Sunday morning. It was actually July 4th. And uh, basically, we had been to this area before, lost a bunch of fish, and we're pretty determined to not have that happen again. So we found some oyster bars and some current and uh, positioned ourselves really stealthily thanks to the positioning course here in Salt Strong, and basically got up on a school of really large red drum pretty much without them knowing that we were there at all, and started throwing top water because we were early in the morning, just chasing after like the coolest saltwater bite ever, a redfish on top water. And 3 or 4 casts in, 26 incher just smashed a lure, and it was a Spook Junior and bone. And it's still like I have like that image in my mind, just like this explosion, like next to my top water lure, and all of a sudden, like my drag is like just gone. And probably 5-10 minutes later, we netted him, and me and my dad were like, "What just happened?" It was like in shock of how crazy that moment was, of so many years of trying to find big reds, and being able to experience that with my dad, and then that pretty much set the day. Then the bite stayed on for another 30 or 45 minutes, and we had blow up after blow up after blow up, uh, probably 10 fish that missed our lures, but we were able to land another 24-inch for me, and my dad caught an 18-incher, all on the same lure. Like we were switching rods. He was casting while I was taking pictures, and it was we only had one Spook Junior, and that's the only thing they wanted that day. So we were just taking turns, and it was really fun. And it was one of those times where you go out for an hour and you're like, I'm satisfied. I could go back in. I don't need to stay out any longer. It's just all of our goals and dreams were fulfilled right there in uh, that little marsh area. So it was, I think I called the post Mountaintop Day, and it was that for a reason. It was just, I couldn't imagine, couldn't have planned it any better. Like couldn't have had it go according to plan any better. Made me feel pretty good. And it's super validating, with all the stuff I've learned from Salt Strong, and how uh, all of that kind of played into one day. And I knew it all worked, but it's like, man, really, I was able to like find the spot on the fly, like, and just use stuff on the water, and like, all right, we're gonna go here. This is exactly what I want to do. And I actually told my dad like where to cast, and he hit it within like 2 feet and caught a fish. It was just like pretty crazy to put all that to use and be able to show someone like my dad that really hasn't done much inshore fishing, and on our first trip really like targeting reds, being able to put them on fish like that um, was super rewarding, and exciting to see him have so much fun.
Congratulations, man. That sounds awesome. It is so gratifying to go out with something in mind and achieve that on the water. Like that is a really good feeling. So congratulations, man. And thank you so much for sharing this report. I put this one on the list right away. I'm like, this one is going to be a Strong Angler of the Week.
Cool. That's
I
awesome.
love it, man. So what was the highlight of the trip for you?
The highlight of the trip was definitely seeing my dad catch his PB red. It's so weird, right? Because I'm 25 years old, and my dad and I started going on annual fishing trips. We grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, so we would drive 6 hours down to the coast of North Carolina, sometimes South Carolina, and just do surf fishing. And, he taught me pretty much everything I knew up until I joined Salt Strong about fishing, how to tie knots, how to cast, um, you know, what it was like to set the hook on a fish. And so for my whole life, it's been, him kind of sacrificing for me. And like, he baited my hook and I got to cast and catch the fish. And we would catch a bunch of bluefish off the surf or Spanish mackerel and big sharks, things like that. And I just remember so many moments where, like I look back and I'm like, oh, like I'm pretty sure that was dad's rod, but he let me pick it up and reel it in, even though he was the one who did all the work. And so now, as I've spent in Salt Strong the last 2 years, just learning so much about inshore saltwater fishing, being to take my dad out on our new boat and do the exact same thing for him. And just to see the smile on his face when he hooked up to that red. And, even though it was the smaller one of the day, it had all the fight and all the power to pull that 10-pound braid as far as it could off the line or off the reel. So it was just such an awesome moment. And being able to share my knowledge with him and put him on fish was definitely the highlight. I mean, I couldn't have had it. The only way it could have been better is if he caught the 26 and I caught the 18. So
That is awesome, man. It's very gratifying for stuff like that. One, just to see other people hook up on fish, but especially your dad, and I can relate to that because my dad taught me a lot too growing up. I learned so much from my dad, but now I'm taking him out there and putting him on the fish and then hearing him tell other people that the teacher has become the student. And it's an awesome feeling, man. While my dad is definitely still the offshore guy, like he has me on offshore. So I'm the student for offshore, but he is now the student for inshore. And it's a good feeling. And to be able to take him out there like he did with me when I was a kid and get him hooked up on some nice fish, man, there's nothing like it. It's
it was
a good feeling.
Yeah, very gratifying.
And yeah, man, I've seen that you've been a member with us for around 2 years, and you've been sharing all kinds of awesome reports in our community and just being a part of the community, period. And we really appreciate that, man. And you've been with us 2 years, so I want to ask you, what is your favorite thing about Salt Strong?
Oh man, favorite thing. That is really a hard one, but I'm gonna say the community in general. I think before I came to Salt Strong, I had really minimal experience with inshore fishing. I'd never been on a charter. I'd never really fished at the beach or like in coastal waters other than from the surf, from the sand. But what I did know was that knowledge felt really far off and really secured, understandably, I think from some like local guides, that's how they make their money and they need to have that knowledge. But I always felt like it was unattainable for me, just a random guy, to be able to learn where all these fish are and or at least where they're supposed to be and their tendencies. And I just didn't really understand how really simple someone could communicate it and then share it with 20 some thousand of their best angler friends on a community. So being able to, even on weeks where I know I'm not going to go fish, just opening up my Salt Strong app or going to the website and pulling up the community and seeing all my local anglers in North Carolina, what they're catching, how they're doing it. Because other people have a very similar story to me. Like there are plenty of people that I follow that have gone from like, I have no idea how to fish even to I just like caught the biggest redfish of my life or trout or whatever it was. But being able to share all that in a community and have such an open source of fishing knowledge has really like catapulted me as an angler. I feel like into a level I never thought I could. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be taking my dad out and putting him on redfish, just like I saw Luke and Joe and Wyatt, you do in all your videos, I would have told you were crazy. It's just, I had no idea that it was possible. And so, but that was only really made possible through the community and learning. And so there's so many people who comment on my posts or share details. I mean, I went to Florida a month ago and had a really terrible day on the water exploring in my kayak. And there were so many local people who just reached out. I was like, hey, check this out. This is the trend now. the next day I went out and caught like too many trout. Like I couldn't keep count of how many were out there. So it's all thanks to that community, just being a group and being united to put everyone else on fish, and so that's been the most beneficial for me, and probably my favorite. And there are a lot of really good things about Salt Strong, I'll tell you that. But definitely the community.
I love it, man. And I really appreciate it. I would agree. It's really cool to see how a lot of people will come on Strong Angler of the Week, and that is their answer. And, I really do think that when people are first coming in, that the courses catch people's eye and the lures and, the discounts and stuff. But there's something to be said about the community becoming most people's favorite thing. And it just goes to show that networking factor is a big deal, and it's really where you're going to get your best information, especially on specific areas. And what's even cooler about it is the people that we have in our community too, man. Like I appreciate all of our members so much, because there's not many places that you can go where you get people that are just being honest and just kind of laying everything on the table and actually just want to help people out. So it was almost weird to see what's happening in the Salt Strong community, because I had never seen that before. I was always very hesitant to ask anybody for help on any other social media platform, not because I ever really experienced anybody like coming after me or anything like that, or teasing me on my posts, but I'd seen it so many times that I almost just like refrained from doing it. And it's really cool to see that now I have somewhere where if I do have those questions that I might be worried to post somewhere else, that I got somewhere where I know people aren't just gonna point the finger at me and laugh. So I really appreciate it, man.
Exactly. It's nice to know that we all have the same goal. Like we're all learning. One of my life mottos is, if you ever think you're the best, you're never going to get any better. And with fishing, like I always want to continue to learn. I mean, there's always something new and someone else who has different experiences that they can share with you. And just being humble and, admitting that like, I don't know everything. I don't have to know everything. It's not what I'm not called to do that. So, yeah, totally agree.
That is it, man. Spot on. That's exactly what it is. But I really appreciate it, man. And that's going to wrap it up for this week's Strong Angler of the Week. And for anybody else watching this video, if you want to be Strong Angler of the Week, just put your family and friend reports in the community, and maybe I'll have you on next week. And thank you so much, Tyler.
Thanks, guys.
There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live Salt Strong and where the lines